Hi, Priyanka, Garima, welcome to this session on the transition series. Before we get started, let me just call this out that this is not a panel nor a webinar. This is a space where I thought that we could all get together and have this conversation on transition. And the series is quite close to my heart because there is a cross-generational conversation that I'm having with the Gen Z, the leaders, that is Gen X, and with the millennials, that is y'all today. So before we get into the conversation, let me just kind of introduce the two of you. And so, Priyanka, I know you from my earlier organization as an executive coach, PCC, and Garma, Priyanka is an award-winning global strategic HR leader with over 15 years of experience in curating people and talent strategy, leadership development, and cultural transformations across global capability centers. She is also an a Union Minister awardee for her path-breaking work in coaching, emotional intelligence, and leadership development. She has been bestowed upon the Professor Pulin Garg Award for Disruptive Thinking in HR in India by Honorable Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia. So, Priyanka, welcome.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Kalpana, for the very exhaustive description. I'm looking forward to this and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, Priyanka Garima is a chartered accountant by profession. With a decade of experience in banking and a backdrop in entrepreneurship as well. She had her small stint she had her own branding and social media brand as well, and she was very good at it as well. She currently works in data science, in data and tech as a banking product SME, bringing together analytical depth and domain expertise. So, Garima, welcome.
Thank you, Kalpana. Thank you. Two great people, but I'm very excited and looking forward to this conversation.
So, great. So, today's space and the theme of this conversation is about redefining success and self in this evolving world around you, right? So, we move on to the first question which I would want to address is how do you recognize when what once fit, as Garima you mentioned, right? Something did fit and it no longer fits. So your thoughts about it, and not necessarily you can be content free, but of course it's your choice. So
I think personally for me, how I've been able to navigate is I've absolutely moved from complete unawareness to now awareness of what it means that these things are not fitting me anymore. So earlier it was just like you were a prisoner to certain behaviors, certain patterns, and you just kept on living the identity. And that there are a lot of emotional frictions that you will start seeing and sensing around. It could be with, it could be in work life, it could be in relationships, it could be in friendships. So there's similar patterns of, how your body is signaling and how the emotional frictions happen. That kind of gives you a sense that certain things are not fitting anymore. And then you kind of go back into your self-reflect and have a sense of what you need to shed because you sometimes you just very, very strongly hold on to certain ideas of yourself which you don't relate to anymore. I hope I have answered.
Yes, absolutely. Self-awareness, I think, is the first step towards any shift or any change. So thank you for that. Priyanka, would want to add something to this question that I asked Garima about how do you recognize when something which was once fitting is now the familiar is dissolved, something is evolving.
So I'm going to take a step back and come to this question of yours. I think what is emerging for me right now is especially from a millennial point of view, the line between a change and a transition was very blurry for millennials and for me also when I was probably adjusting to my professional life, when I went through motherhood, etc. Right, and now with time, it's become very very clear in terms of what a change is and what a transition is in in our lives. Simply put, I feel that a change usually happens on multiple occasions and is a very external affair, right? And what I didn't understand at that point in time is I used it very synonymously, and now I understand that transitions happen very rarely in a human life, and that's when your value system gets challenged, right? And that is when your inner psychological environment needs to either change or evolve, right? And simply put, for folks to understand, say for example, an organization is being taken over by another, right? That's a change. The information and the two companies joining, that is a change, right? But how the people or the folks in that in those two organizations are really internally processing this and acclimatizing, internalizing, aligning to that change is a transition, and it's a long phase. It takes a long time. You cannot work in tandem that okay, a change is complete and then my transition is also complete. It doesn't work that way, right? And why I gave this example is, for example, when we look at our lives, especially women's lives, right? When we have gotten married, right, it's nothing less than a acquisition. You move from one house to another, and this is a change in your life. And as a woman, you are hit more gravely with that change because people are new, environment is new, right? And your value system gets challenged. And for you to really understand what has changed in your life and really acclimatize, internalize to that change, and then align, and then be that new yourself, in that new environment, and be comfortable with who you are, takes a long time. I am still adjusting and acclimatizing in my house, right? And so as millennials, I'm saying that the line was very blurred, and it took me some time to really understand this, and now have become comfortable with the fact that okay, transitions are difficult periods, transitions are longer, and it's okay that they are longer. And the only person probably I need to have more conversations with is my inner self when I'm undergoing a transition, right? So to your question now, Kalpana, that what changes, right? I feel your entire value system during this phase really gets challenged, right? And Garima just mentioned about identity, right? What were my identities before, and how are they serving me today? And what is my new identity that will help me move forward in the future? So what we are fundamentally talking about is our value system. We were a particular person. We grew up with certain set of values. Now we are put in a very new and an alien environment, right? How is my value system serving me to really work and be successful in that environment, right? And if it is not serving me, firstly, do I acknowledge that? Many people fail to acknowledge this, right? Do I acknowledge, firstly, that my earlier value system is not serving me? Secondly, do I give myself permission to maybe change or evolve my value system? Sometimes it can be the exact opposite, right? That my value system is being challenged, right? But I'm not comfortable giving up on my values because I hold my values very close, and that is what defines me, and I'm very clear about it. So it's better to then change the environment, remove yourself from that environment, right? Or else if you feel, yes, by a little bit of tweaking, and I'm okay to, probably let go of certain values, maybe evolve a few other certain values, right, I will be this new self that can align and acclimatize to the new environment very well and undergo this change as well as this long term transition very well and come out of it successful, right? So I think that is something that people need to understand, really acknowledging your value system, seeing what you want to let go and what you should also let come, right? And in the process then, be successful in whichever environment you are in. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. In fact, it answered the second question which I had as well, which we are talking about, how do you define success when your values evolve? So you beautifully kind of also answered that question. Garima, any thoughts around this?
Just one bit actually. While I totally agree to the whole thing about having a certain value system which makes a great deal of your identity. For me and personally in my case, it's also been a lot of internal narratives. And these are not my values. These are necessarily not serving me, and they are not something that I really want to believe in or hold on to. It's just like some internal narrative, self-sabotage, which will forever be at play. And sometimes it has worked for you because you needed to, but then just recognizing them that I don't need them anymore and kind of being okay to accept that it's not making me somehow so there's a bit of a period where you decide that you don't want to be that anymore and you want to shut down that internal narrative and the internal voice, and then you start to feel that you are not being authentic to yourself, and then you have to make the transition of understanding, no, I'm not going to be that, and that's not the true voice. The deeper voice is something else. So there's a whole play of hypocrisy that comes in. So that basically it's the essence that I'm trying to bring in is, obviously the values have to evolve, but sometimes the self-talk also needs to evolve. Yes. when we are at a threshold and when we are trying to bring about a change or a transition, and I have personally felt that to be slightly harder when it comes to myself.
Agreed. Thank you so much for being honest to yourself and sharing that, Garima. So, what inner skills then? You were talking about shifting values, sharing something that doesn't work out, recognizing, acclimatizing to the environment, which is also changing. What inner skills matter most when life or work shifts?
It's been this one attitude where I have this is something that is stuck with me. I will figure it out. Life gets harder, life gets surprising, life gets very, very, very difficult to comprehend, but I will figure it out. So whether it's been, I've changed many roles, I've changed organizations, changed cities. I have been in relationships in the sense that didn't really relate to who I am, in the sense I thought I can't be like in a family and I can't be, it's slightly like a hippie mindset, and I didn't think this will come very naturally to me. So in every phase of my life, in every change, or whether it's my physiology or it's the roles that I've played, it's always been that I'll figure it out. So that state of mind. And second, I think while my when we say success, while my definition of success is not solidified yet, but I always thought that somehow we don't really have a definition of success. To each his own is something that we say, and we don't really have many definitions. We have one standard definition of what success looks like, and the others are slightly like we are open to hearing it, but that is only after that success has been demonstrated, applauded, we are willing to recognize it. So if I feel like millennials have been given this template. It's been either of the two templates, if depending on which community you come from. Study hard, get a job, and grow up the ladder, and play adulthood. And the other one, if you are coming from a different community, it could also be get married and maybe have a job, but not a career. Job is very different from career. So I think either of the two templates, and my generation particularly is now figuring out the definition of success, and they are trying to kind of and then now the second question would be the skills. What does success mean to me? And then thereafter I would kind of pick and choose my basket of skills. So yeah, I think I'll just take a pause here probably and like.
Thank you for that. So moving on, we're talking about something called as trust. And have you all taken a pause in your life? And when you have taken that pause, what is it that what you've trusted, or trusted the most? Have you kind of run behind, ran towards fixing things in a hurry, or taken that pause and there is an element of trust? Yes, Priyanka?
Yeah.
What's your take on this particular
Yeah. So
question?
firstly, I'm going to say I'm a fan of pauses. Okay. And I'm such a big fan that I also recommend it to others. And sometimes I really make it a point to really, if people are not realizing, making them realize that they need to pause at certain junctions of their life. So there is no stigma or around pauses, honestly. And I think that's a very big difference between us and who came before us, right? And I think millennials in general, whenever life is getting topsy-turvy and whenever they are finding that they are not being able to breathe, and here again when I'm saying that, I mean that probably the alignment is off in terms of head, heart, hand, in terms of your value system and what you are doing externally, you don't mind really pausing. And pause does not really mean that you are unsuccessful in any way, or you will not be successful in the future, right? Or the mindset around it is completely different, is what I'm saying. Now bringing it back to me personally, I've taken multiple pauses in my life. I've taken a pause during studies. I've taken a pause during motherhood. I have taken a pause between jobs and assignments whenever it did not make sense to me, right? And for most millennials, and this probably does not apply to me because I look at it differently, but what I've seen is for most millennials, we get into the pause very happily because it is a voluntary pause. The initial days or months are really, I will change the world and I can do this and I can do that, etc. Right? But it is after that initial period of joy that you feel that emptiness in terms of the inaction that Garima was speaking about, that, okay, I'm used to being very busy mentally, physically, and emotionally, every which way possible. And now, all the other thoughts start pouring into your head in terms of, especially in terms of working women, or if you're ambitious, you've taken a maternity break and you want to go back to the world. A lot of questions start pouring into your head in terms of, am I missing out on a lot? And, do I utilize even this period for really upskilling myself in different ways? Did I do the right thing while taking a pause? And, when I join back, right, would the time and the space have been, would move ahead, and will I be left behind in comparison to my peers? Right. And so all these questions are very natural. They're very organic. And for millennials specifically, I've seen that they do come up. Right. My recommendation to folks, and I'm a person who has thriven in, or who thrives in change. And I love transitions because they bring me close to who I am. And when I was in college, I felt the need to really jump back onto the bandwagon. But I think I learned a lot through that phase, and hence I became very relaxed about all the other pauses in my life, right? And my recommendation to folks will be that pause is a very important phase in your life, especially for women, right? They are pausing for studies. They might pause for the maternity breaks that they take. They pause between career shifts, right? And I would recommend every woman, every lady to really be present during the pause, right? Really breathe, right? Really ask yourself who you have become, right? and whether there is that alignment within and with your actions and your mindset still there, and whether if it is off, right, how do you really adjust, how do you really realign yourself, and what do you learn about yourself, or what have you learned so far about yourself as a individual, as a whole, right? And where do you see yourself in the future, and how do you really then evolve, both in terms of your external and internal skills, and most importantly your internal ecosystem? How does it recalibrate itself? How do you internally have that conversation with yourself in terms of where you want to head as an individual? Because I feel that your external success in the long term will very much be dependent upon how your internal ecosystem is heard to by yourself, and how you have really responded to nourish it, and how you are providing it all that sunlight, the water, the manure, for it to really become a sapling and then grow into a plant, So I think it's very important during that pause. In fact, the pause is the most critical period, I feel, in any woman's life, to really just listen to themselves without judging themselves, right? Just listen very intently. Just ground yourself during that period, and no judgment whatsoever, right? And what you will get at the other end will be such an amazing, beautiful, matured inner self that you will be ready and up for any change, any transition, any battle in your life, I feel, right? So I feel it's a very critical and a very vital period, and one needs to know how to utilize pauses better to be successful, rather than utilizing your work life better, I feel, right? So that is my take and 2 cents on pause.
So thank you so much. There is a rich information, material and content that I am carrying from this conversation, and thank you for being part of this, and being so much involved, though I'm meeting you all after a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us, Kalpana. I think it takes a lot to really hold space for folks who want to chime in, listen very intently, and listen from a space of really active listening and not judgment, and really understand that people are different. They come from different walks of life. They have their own learnings. So I personally felt immensely comfortable. So thank you for having us, and thank you for having me, and thank you for creating that space. Although I'm sure that Garima echoes the same.
Fully resonate with what she said. Not even a penny different. So thank you, Kalpana. Like, it was great, actually. I was very, I didn't know what to expect. I kind of came with an open mind. I didn't know how the conversation will move.
So thank you so much, Garima, Priyanka, for sharing these heartfelt answers to some of the questions which just simply came out of the conversation that we were having. I have worked a little deeper into transitions, and of course, referring to the earlier models as well. William Bridges' model was very insightful, and what we were discussing today was something called as in transitions, different stages of transitions. That's the ending, the neutral zone, and the beginnings, right? And I've tried my best to create a series that is a transition series, which is there on YouTube as well.